Hi, Biology. Mr. Wegner here, taking up our amphibians and reptiles notes. We're on part 2, talking about reptiles. Remember part 1, we talked about amphibians, and then also in class the other day, you finished your Bill Nye reptiles. So now we're going to go on to part 2, talking about reptiles, creeping vertebrates. All right. As you're going to notice, there are answers here. All the answers are actually listed with a comma and then the number, like 1A. So the answer in your note packet for 1A is lizards. Now we may skip some of these, but we'll come back to them. Every answer is listed on here somewhere, okay? Every answer is listed on here somewhere, all right? So first one, orders of reptiles. There are 6 orders, 5 orders it looks like. Double check my notes. Lizards is the first one. They are elongated, 4-legged, scaly reptiles. There's about 3,000 species of lizards, such as the Komodo dragon, such as the frilled lizard, the anole. Second one, snakes. Snakes are legless, scaly reptiles with long cylindrical bodies, 2,700 species, including the long-nosed tree snake, the king cobra, the emerald boa. Turtles is group number 3. They have shells and large toothless jaws. Only 240 species of turtles, including the green sea turtle, the box turtle, the painted turtle. Order number 4 is crocodilians. Crocodilians, any large, thick-skinned, long-tailed, and aquatic. Now, crocodilians includes crocodiles, so don't get them confused. It not only includes crocodilian, it also includes crocodiles, alligators, and gavals. So that's 3, but crocodilian is the name of the order. Only 21 species. Includes the alligator, the caiman, and the crocodile, and the gavale. And the last order is called one you probably never even heard of. It's called tuataras. Tuataras. There's only 2 different species. They're lizard-like, but they have spines along its neck, back, and tail. Tuataras, and they look like that. Notice the little spines along the back and on the tail. All right, let's jump into it. Characteristics of all vertebrates. This is going to be question number 2. Looks like you need to list 4. I think there's a total of 6 that are listed here. Number 1, they're all vertebrates. They're ectothermic, cold-blooded. They regulate their temperature by moving into the shade and in the sun. Notice that is also the answer to number 3. How do cold-blooded animals regulate their body temperature? They move into the shade or they move into the sun. They have tough, dry skin covered in scales. If an animal lives in a tropical climate, they're usually nocturnal. Why? Because it's too hot to be out during the day. So they have to be out during the night when it's a little bit cooler. If you're out in 90 degrees or 100-degree temperatures, that's way too hot. You're going to overheat and you're going to have some problems as a reptile. So if you're in a hot tropical climate, most of those animals are nocturnal. Low body temperature equals slow actions. That's also number 4. Answer to question number 4. They breathe with lungs. Many are tetrapods. That's going to be your answer to number 5. They have 4 legs. Tetra meaning 4, and pods meaning like pegs or legs, 4 legs. They have a 3-chambered heart, except for crocodiles who have a 4-chambered heart. That's question number 6, obviously. I'm not going to continue to go through the numbers. You can see them there and identify them for yourself. Here's again what a 3-chambered heart looks like. Notice that the blue arrows from the body, the blood comes into a right atrium, and then it goes down to the pump, which is the ventricle. And hopefully the blue blood goes to the goes to the lungs to pick up oxygen. Because when it comes back from the body, all the oxygen is gone. And as we see, when it continues from the artery here, and the red comes into the left atrium. That's after it comes back from the lungs, and it goes into the ventricle that then pumps the oxygen-rich blood to the body. You can see the problem, though. Just because there are blue arrows going to the lungs, that doesn't necessarily mean that only blue blood goes to the lungs. If you look down here at the very bottom in the ventricle, the blue and the red arrows are all mixed up. So sometimes blood that already has oxygen goes to the lungs. Well, that's kind of a waste. It goes there to pick up oxygen. It's already got it. And sometimes blue blood that doesn't have oxygen gets pumped out to the body. Well, that's no good. The blood gets to the body, but it's got no oxygen. It can't do anything. So you can see how this is very inefficient. Inefficient to have a 3-chambered heart. Many reptiles molt, that is, they shed their scales. Many can live long periods of time without water. They're able to conserve it very well. Many are oviparous. Ov means egg. They lay eggs. Some are ovoviviparous. That means the eggs hatch inside the mother. Lizards. Let's talk about that group. Lizards are elongated, four-legged reptiles with a tapered tail. Taper simply means it kind of comes down to a point. They have a nictitating membrane and transparent eyelid, just like birds had. They do this so that they can go underwater and still see, kind of like goggles. Again, they have eyelids, different than snakes. They have external ears. They have legs with claws. So again, snakes do not have legs and they don't have claws. And they have an attached lower jaw. A snake is able to actually detach his lower jaw. We'll study that later. And live in jungle, grassland, tidelands, deserts, and the sea, such as the marine iguana, pictured on your left. That's numbers 9 and 10. All right, lizards can range in size from a few inches, like the reef gecko, up to 12 feet long, like the Komodo dragon. They come in a variety of colors, and some change colors. That's some of their defenses, camouflage, so they can blend in. Most are insectivores, eating insects, though some eat plants, worms, and small animals. And I'm going to move my picture here so you can see what the lizard is doing. That's pretty cool. He's using his tongue. He shoots it outside of his body to grab onto an insect, and it's very sticky on the tongue, so he can eat it. Defense mechanisms. How do lizards defend themselves? Few lizards are poisonous. To subdue their prey or defend themselves, they do not strike like a snake. Poisonous simply means that poison is secreted. It's not venom. Venom is injected into the body. Poisonous lizards are found in southwest U.S., Mexico, and Central America. The Gila monster, G is pronounced like an H, they are poisonous. The Mexican beaded lizard, notice he's got spots and stripes. Those are two of them that are poisonous. Colors provide camouflage to hide lizards. So here is some of these for 13. Looks like A is going to be camouflage, like the chameleon. Notice how it kind of blends into the tree. The anole, look at how it's almost the exact same color as that piece of wood that it's on. Amazing. Another defense mechanism, some of them have detachable tails. Wow, so the predator goes in, grabs onto the tail actually breaks right off. So the predator gets a little bit of a meal, but the tail is designed to detach and will eventually grow back, such as the skink or the collared lizard. Some put themselves in cracks and blow their bodies up so they cannot get out. So it's like they get into a little crack and they can get in, but then they blow their body up, and no matter how much you pull, they won't come back out again because their bodies are filled with air. Such as the chuckwalla. You can see how he's kind of skinny on the right, and on the left, how he blows himself up. Some are able to glide through the air, like the Draco or the flying dragon. So they can get away by climbing up high, and then when they get chased up, then they glide away. Some have frills that encircle their head and make it look larger and more intimidating, like the frilled lizard. Look at how big it looks. All of a sudden, if you're something about its same size going to eat it, you might be scared away thinking this is much bigger than he looks. And then some have unusual scales that look like horns, like the horned lizard. Can also shoot blood out of its eye sockets. That's pretty cool. But horny scales, if you want to chew on that, you're going to cut up your tongue in the process. All right, let's talk a little bit about snakes. The most widespread reptiles. The most widespread reptiles. They live everywhere except Arctic and Antarctic, New Zealand, and Ireland. And supposedly there's a myth that St. Patrick, who we celebrate on St. Patrick's Day, he supposedly, this is the myth, got all the snakes to leave Ireland. That at one time, supposedly, there were snakes, and St. Patrick did something special or magical and got them all to leave. So no snakes in New Zealand, which is an island, and in Ireland, which is also an island. And they're doing their best to make sure that snakes do not get there. Snakes, legless vertebrates with long cylindrical bodies covered in scales. How would you like to be that guy? Yikes, that's a great camera photo too, at just the perfect time. Okay, how they move. This is 15A. One of the methods of locomotion is lateral undulation. The snake bends in a series of curves, and as the curves of its body push against rocks, twigs, or plants, the snake slithers forward. Also used for swimming. This is how we normally think of a snake kind of like moving. Another kind of moving is called rectilinear movement. The snake alternately stretches and shortens segments of its body in order to creep forward in a straight line, used by very thick-bodied snakes or to climb trees. So it looks like this. It does this. It stretches its body, pulls it up, stretches, pulls it up, stretches, pulls it up, stretches, pulls it up. And that's how the snake moves in a direction like that. Rectilinear. Recta means straight, linear means line. So literally straight line movement. Another one is called concertina movement. The snake moves the front part of its body forward, coils it slightly to anchor it, and pushes the back part forward. Used to move on smooth surfaces or to climb trees. We'll show you pictures of all of these so you can get a little better understanding of what we're talking about. But the last one is called sidewinding. As the snake supports its weight with its head, tail, and 2 or 3 other points of contact, it lifts the remainder of its body off the ground and moves it sideways, used especially to cross sand. Sidewinding is used to cross sand. Let's give you a picture of what we're talking about. So concertina, that's the main one, where we go moving our body forward, the neck stretches out, then the body moves up, part, 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 part. Serpentine is kind of the side-to-side slithering motion. Sidewinding, it literally picks part of its body up and throws it. We got a video where we're going to see the sidewinder moving in a sidewinding motion. It'll be really clear. The path that it leaves behind those little dotted lines, that's the path that you'll see in the sand. So if you ever come across a path like that with a little curve and then a space and more curves, that's sidewinding motion. And then the rectilinear is kind of like the caterpillar motion. It looks like this, where the snake just kind of curls up, boom, moves forward a little, stretches out, catches up. Moves forward, stretches out, catches up. Those are the different types of snake movement. So methods of locomotion. Compared to most animals, snakes are slow moving, very slow. Now there are some exceptions, like maybe the black mamba. That's a pretty fast moving snake. But compared to a horse, which can go like 30 or 40 miles an hour, or other animals, birds that can go very fast, compared to all those, snakes are slow moving. But do not be deceived, they can strike incredibly quickly, and they can make up a really long distance when they do strike. Some other characteristics of snakes. Number 16, they have scaly skin. Most reptiles molt more than once a year when skin is worn or too small. Molting is literally shedding the old skin, as you can see, and having new skin. On the picture on the left is actually, there's not a snake inside there. Notice how it's got scales even over its eyeballs. Yeah, so that's the empty shell that the snake molted on the left. You have two kinds of snake. They're either diurnal, which have round pupils. Notice how it's nice and round. Or you can be nocturnal. Diurnal, by the way, means you're out during the day. If you're nocturnal, then your slit is up and down in your pupil. It's vertical. Nocturnal snakes have slit-like vertical pupils. And nocturnal, of course, means out at night. Other characteristics, they have scale-covered, unblinking eyes. You never want to get into a staring contest with a snake. It will win every time. It has no eyelids. It cannot close its eye. And we close our eyes simply as a defense to make sure that sand, grit, wind, other things don't get in there. Since it's covered with a scale, nothing's going to get in there at all. So it's perfectly protected, no reason to blink. Most snakes are nearsighted with scales covering their eyes. Like tree-dwelling snakes have excellent vision. Excellent vision because they use it to strike their prey. Snakes have very bad hearing. Snakes lack an outer ear and eardrum. They are sensitive to low-frequency vibrations in the ground, which they can sense through their jaws. So when they're lying on the ground, they can sense when people are walking, like vibrations, and they can sense that in their jaw, and they know that someone's coming near or walking away. Snake's forked tongue is its primary organ of smell. The tongue is actually the organ of smell, not of taste. The forked tongue actually goes out, picks up scents from particles of dust in the air and the ground. The tongue is brought back into the mouth, and the scent particles are placed into something called the Jacobson organ, discovered, of course, by a scientist with the last name of Jacobson. The Jacobson organ is two tiny cavities in the roof of the mouth that are extremely sensitive to odor. Imagine like if our nostrils went all the way down into the bottom of our mouth or the back of our mouth, there's a little hole there. So here's what it looks like. There's the Jacobson organ. You can see it right there. And then when the tongue comes in, as on the bottom, it throws it right up into that scent, and that scent goes into your, what's what would be called its nose, basically, or its Jacobson organ, and then to the nerve and to the brain. So that's where it senses exactly what's going on, the Jacobson organ. Snakes are designed for feeding, question 21a. They have a double hinged jaw, which allows the mouth to open unusually wide. So you'll see some of these pictures of snakes eating things even bigger than they are. That's how they can do that. They have a double hinged jaw. They can open super, super wide, up to 150 degrees. 180 degrees would be a straight line. 150 is pretty close like that. That's quite a lot. The lower jaw is held together with an elastic segment that allows one half of the jaw to function independently from the other. So here's this snake. Notice how much bigger this egg is than its head. And it gets it around there. It detaches its jaw, keeps going around. And then once it goes in there, its body stretches over it, and it'll eventually crush the egg and digest it. They have many needle-like teeth that slant toward the throat, which prevents their prey from escaping. So a whole bunch of teeth that point backwards that once I get in the mouth, I can't kind of get back out again. So if this is the mouth, here's the way the fangs are. When the fangs get in there, they hook in, and then I can't get back out. Like that. You see all those fangs. Once it's got hold of me and the fangs are like pointed backwards, I'm not going to be able to get out of its mouth because the fangs are directly preventing me from going out of the mouth, which is where I want to go. They're pointed that way. They have a trachea. Windpipe is reinforced with cartilage and is pushed forward over the tongue and out of the mouth. If it didn't have reinforced cartilage, what would happen is when this giant thing that they're eating gets in the way, it would block off their trachea. And if it takes a long time to swallow, they would get no oxygen. They would actually suffocate. They would suffocate or be choked to death. But because of that, you can see there's the glottis. That's the windpipe. They can actually stick that forward, and it's reinforced with cartilage, so it's not going to get closed by like that giant egg squashing it closed, and then it can't get any oxygen. Enzymes produced in the stomach can digest the entire body of an animal except hair or feathers. That means it can even digest bone. Solid bone can be digested and ripped away. The only thing that comes out is going to be feathers and hair and maybe a little bit of urine. But feathers and hair are the only things that snakes cannot digest. A zoologist who studies reptiles and amphibians is called a herpetologist. Herp literally means the study of creeping things. It's from Latin or Greek. I can't remember which one. But ology means the study of, and herpe is creeping things. In the old King James Bible, when they talked about the days of creation, God created all the creeping things that crawled along the ground. He's talking about either insects or reptiles. That's literally what that means. Okay, we're going to stop right here on this last one. This is part 2. We have one more part to finish up. So do your best to get caught up on this as well as any other assignments you're missing. And we will have one more part on Monday. So take care, God bless, and I will talk to you again soon.